right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to week 17. Sadly, only 2 more weeks of the regular season. It's been a fast season, but I've enjoyed it. I know Gabe's enjoyed it as well, but we're going to talk some week 17 values. We're going to wish everybody Merry Christmas first off. Sorry, that should have been the first thing I did. But
Merry
we're
Christmas,
filming
sir.
this. We're filming this on Friday before the Saturday Sunday slate. We're going to be talking about the Saturday Sunday slate. We've already done the Christmas slate. That was on our TikTok channel, so make sure you subscribe to that. Speaking of the Christmas games, I can basically kiss my fantasy football championship down the drain because Jameer Gibbs absolutely screwed me with 5, 6 points. So I will be taking the loss in the championship in back-to-back years in our friend league, and I am thrilled, thrilled. Can't
You made it
wait.
back to back championships though.
Yeah, back-to-back,
That's still
back-to-back.
impressive. I mean, you got to know something if you're going back to back champs. So
Yeah,
still something to write. Still
back-to-back.
something to be proud of.
I'm now the Buffalo Bills of the Friends League, but that's all right. Well, let's dive in. Week 17. Got some quarterback values to talk about off the jump. I'll let you go first. I think we've got three each, maybe a halfie. We talked about this a little bit. Maybe a half guy we may throw in there as a potential value, but I'll let you go first. What you got?
Yeah, I'll start it out. Since my brother Cole's not on here, I got to do him justice, and I got to go with his favorite play the last 3 weeks. That's Jacoby Brissett, who his streak ended last week against Atlanta of 20 plus fantasy points. He was 9 straight going for double digits. He didn't make it. He was at 11.
Good
So, I
run.
mean, this week it was a good run, but he's looking for a chance to make it 10 games above double digit, well, I say double digits, above 20 points. He made double digits in all of them, but to make it to 20 plus, they're playing Cincinnati this week. He's averaging 40 plus pass attempts and all 10 starts. They've pretty much
Golly.
said they've pretty much said the run game is non-existent or put it on your back, Jacoby. Prove to us why you deserve more money than Kyler Murray. We'll see if we'll
Jeez.
see if they pay him. He's getting his weapons back. Marvin Harrison Jr. played 52% of the snaps last week. I think if he gets healthy, we get him back to a number above 70 this week. Uh, so I like Jacoby Brissett. I think he's a good play this week against Cincinnati. Who we don't even have to elaborate on how bad their
Yeah.
defense. Quinn Ewers had one of the worst starts you could think of from a rookie last week, and still managed to have 8 points. He didn't even throw a touchdown, but he still managed to somehow get close to 10 points. As bad as he played. So I like Jacoby with his recent success against bad defenses. And both teams are in a tankathon, so who knows? I
Yeah.
mean, you got to start thinking about personal pride and what they're playing for as far as contracts at this point. And I think
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett has a lot to prove, and Marvin Harrison wants to make up some of that lack of yards he's had his rookie season with Kyler Murray. So I think Arizona has some players that want to prove something this week against Cincinnati. And besides Jacoby Brissett, I've got this game. I'm not going to say it yet because I'm going to end it with this with the New York Giants and Las Vegas game. That way, it's a good segue into what you have. But the next guy I'll go into is Baker Mayfield at 5,600. Tampa's got a 46% chance to make the playoff. They're still battling against Carolina to win that division, and it's going to be nice weather in Miami. And I actually drew something on this paper. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. That's a tank. That's a mini tank. Miami is an absolute tank mode. I don't think they're going to want to play against Tampa, who's going to be really motivated to play. And Baker Mayfield is getting his weapons back. We've seen Evans. I think Evans has scored in back-to-back games. I know he scored last week. Maybe he didn't score the week before, but I know he was close to 100 yards. He's had two really good games
Yeah.
back from injury, and that's kind of affecting Abuka and Chris Godwin's upside, but they're both healthy. And then you also have Jalen McMillan, who's back from injury. So Baker Mayfield will have a full arsenal of weapons, healthy. And the run game is weird with Bucky Irving, Rashad White, and Sean Tucker. So I don't like the running back room as much as I like Baker Mayfield at 5,600, needing about 16 fantasy points there, which I think he could get pretty easily against Miami and some nice weather with all his weapons and some sneaky rushing upside. He's got 40 rush yards in two of his last three games. So he's pulling it down a little bit. Maybe he finds a way into the end zone on like a little scramble from 5 or 6 yards out. So I like Baker Mayfield. Seems like I've lost B. I don't know what's going on. Some I've lost Britton,
I'm here.
if you get a phone call,
Sorry. Need to
did you get a,
apologize in advance. I'm in the boonies and I've got my computer Wi-Fi won't work, so I'm having to do this on my phone, praying it won't go out on me. But I did get a message from my wife, so I was checking to make sure everything was all right. And then when I touched my phone, I will not do that again. Let's just say it that way, because everything went to crap real
it
fast, dude.
said Britton received a phone call and lost connection. I was like, oh no, not good.
Yeah,
So
my
I
bad.
went a little I went on a little tangent on Baker Mayfield there. I don't know how much you heard, but
I heard a
uh,
lot.
okay, I like Baker Mayfield, and this is the segue I wanted to give you here with Jackson Dart and Geno Smith. Apparently, New York has said they want Jackson Dart to start playing a little more conservative and stop some of the rushing ability. That's the news report that came out, and
Yeah,
he took that to heart because he had one fantasy point last week versus Minnesota. Jackson
he was
Dart
awful.
did not take that news and throw it aside. He literally played terrible. I'm not really sure what we're going to get from Jackson Dart this week against Las Vegas. But you want to talk about another dumpster fire? Max Crosby literally walked out of the building today because they
Yeah,
told him that they wanted him to sit out, and he was said no. So I mean, obviously Max Crosby's not playing for Vegas. I mean, you got two teams. Who knows what's going to happen in that Giants versus Vegas game? So that's where you have to look at those plays like Geno, who is trying to stay in the league because Vegas wants a top three pick because they want to get a quarterback.
yeah,
And
hundred
Geno's not
percent.
ready to stop playing. So he's going to put as much on tape as he can to prove that he deserves to be a starting quarterback somewhere.
I agree.
And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we get him back in New York at the Jets if they don't get a high enough pick
Yeah,
next year. So that's kind of funny. He started his career at the Jets. Wouldn't it be funny if he balls out and
yeah.
heads back to the Jets? That'd be ironic.
Full
But
circle.
yeah, I'll let you talk more about Geno because I'm sure you have some in depth next gen stats on Geno.
I don't know if you would call him next gen stats, but I do think that when Max Brosmer looks competent against the defense,
Yeah,
then
that's
you gotta like Geno Smith in this matchup. Because the only other game that Brosmer started or played significantly, he had 4 interceptions. So it's no next gen stats. It's kind of I could see some potential value here,
did Brosmer
but
start
definitely
versus,
not one of my core three.
did Brosmer start
What
versus
you
the
got?
Giants?
He played for the Giants because McCarthy got knocked out early.
So he did. Oh, so he did get some starts versus. Okay, he did play some versus Giants. I didn't know that. That's news
Yeah.
to me. Okay.
Yeah, he played some against the Giants. Decent. I think it was at least a half. But again, competency from him
Yeah.
makes me want to choose any quarterback against that defense in at least one lineup. So no next
Yeah.
gen stats, just a guy I kind of have my eye on. My favorite play of the week though is Malik Willis at 5,000 versus Baltimore, who's 19th to the quarterback position at 18.2 fantasy points per game. Why? I think you gotta like Mike LaFleur or Mike LaFleur's offense.
Matt
Is that
Lafleur.
his name? What is it?
Matt.
What is it?
Matt.
Yeah,
Matt.
Matt
Yeah.
LaFleur.
Close. Close.
Mike's his evil brother. Matt
Yeah.
LaFleur.
Matt
You got to
Lafleur.
like his offense. He makes it easy for the quarterbacks. They got a lot of weapons. They got a good run game. He's at 5,000. But the thing I like the most about him is his rushing upside. We know that Malik Willis can use his legs to take advantages of the defense when he gets
Yep.
the opportunity. And really, if you think about it, Malik Willis kind of fizzled out quickly at Tennessee. He's had some flashes at Green Bay. This is you talk about a guy wanting to put something on tape. This is a good
Oh yeah.
opportunity for him to prove that he might have an opportunity to be a starter somewhere else. Someone who may take a chance and bring him in as a competition for some competition next season. But if you look at Baltimore's defense, they allow the sixth most passing yards per game at 242.7. In Baltimore, if you look at the last couple quarterbacks they've faced, Drake May went 28.7, Aaron Rodgers 21.5. Tyrod Taylor, who was low price, went for 13.8, but he was only priced at like 4,200 that week. And then Joe Burrow went for 19.2, but he did have a dud at 7.5. So overall, if you look at Baltimore's defense the last 5 weeks, they've been suspect to the quarterback position in fantasy. Really like that play. I think there's potential with the legs for
Yep.
him to really excel in this game. Um, The other guy I like is Trevor Lawrence at 6,100 against
You're
Indianapolis in the
doing it.
dome.
You're doing it.
What I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm gonna curse him right here. Um, in the dome, so he's inside, no wind, no rain, nothing like that. He's got Indianapolis is allowing 18.1 fantasy points per game. The last two games for Trevor Lawrence, this is why you just got to take a stab at him and see what happens. He's accounted for 10 total touchdowns and zero interceptions.
Yeah.
He's had 47.3 fantasy points and 31.2.
Yeah.
Um, and then if you look at Indianapolis's defense last week against San Francisco, Purdy threw for 295 and five touchdowns. I think this is a situation where you just got to ride the hot hand and see what happens. I like him a lot, especially he's not. I feel like he's not overpriced at 6,100. I feel like it's still kind of low, especially the way he's been playing. So he's one of my favorite plays this week. And then the third guy I've got is Big Cock Brock versus Chicago, who is 23rd against fantasy quarterbacks with 19.3 fantasy points per game. So why do I like Big Brock? I like
Yeah.
Big Brock
Right.
because the last 2 weeks he's accounted for 8 touchdowns. He's thrown for 590 yards in those 2 weeks, and his fantasy points has been 27.2 and 31.9. He's playing really, really well. And Gabe, you and I were talking about this before we even got on to film this, but San Francisco is still battling for the top seed in their division. Seattle, the
Yeah.
Rams, and San Francisco are all about a game apart, half a game apart. So it's a big opportunity if they can go in there and get a win in Chicago to not only lower Chicago in the rankings, but have a potential to maybe take that one seed. So it's a huge game for San Francisco, and I like Brock in the clutch. We'll see what happens. That
Yeah. I
puts
had
you to
to.
sleep.
No, no, dude. I was about to give you the biggest pause ever for
Uh,
for his nickname. There's a little box I check whenever I upload the YouTube videos. It says, "Is this video made for kids?" I check no every single week, but I'm about to make sure this week. No.
My bad. My bad,
It's
everybody.
no, it's not. It's not a curse word. It was just funny. It was
Yeah,
just major pause.
major.
Um, major pause.
Let let's
Immunity.
shift running back though, unless you got any other quarterbacks you want to talk about.
No, there's not really any major quarterbacks. I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna touch on Caleb Williams a little bit later when I start talking about some of the receivers
Okay.
in Chicago this weekend. But I mean, you've got some decent players below 5,000, but none of the matchups to me really stick out as must starts besides Geno Smith and like you said, Malik Willis with his rushing upside against Baltimore, a team that's out of the playoffs and is now sitting Lamar Jackson for the remainder of it looks like probably for the remainder of the season, who's doubtful this week. So yeah, nothing much really left on the quarterback position. I think we hit it pretty solid.
Sweet. Pause. All right, let's go
Boss.
running back. Running back value here. I'll start us off on this segment. Um, my favorite play, if it's a big if, but if
Yeah.
Travion Henderson is in concussion protocol and cannot clear, Ramondre Stevenson is the play this week at 5,900 against
1,000%.
the mighty New York Jets defense. Spike.
1,000. Love it.
Yep.
Yep.
New York is 27th to running backs in fantasy. They allow 26.8 fantasy points per game. They allow the fifth most rushing yards per game at 133.7. And they've also allowed 18 rushing TDs on the season. Last week, if you look at Stevenson, because Henderson did go down pretty early, Stevenson had ended up with 17.8 fantasy points. He had 51 rushing yards and a touchdown, and he also had two receptions for 27 yards. And we've talked about this a lot through the weeks, Gabe, and Cole as well. I hate he's not here to add on to this, but we've talked about how the timeshare between Henderson and Stevenson is about 50-50. We don't think it should be, but it is 50-50. But if
No.
Stevenson gets 80% of the snaps,
Yeah.
you really like the upside there for Ramondre Stevenson not having to be limited by his snap count. So he's one of my favorite plays this week. This is going to be the next two guys I talk about. One coming off a great week. The second guy is you're gonna laugh me out of the building when I say this guy's name, but
Maybe, maybe not.
maybe. I think Tyrone Tracy's value this week at 5,400. If you look across his snap share and
Yeah,
compare it to Singletary, this is probably the first 2 weeks where it's exceeded 30% higher. So he's about 65 to 70% compared to Singletary's running about 35%. So for the first
yeah,
time in a while, he's starting to exceed in
yeah,
snap share, and he's at back-to-back weeks with 70 plus rushing yards, which that's not a world beater, but you think
yeah.
about 70 plus rushing yards and you get in the end zone, you're where you need to be at 5,400 pretty much.
Hmm.
So back-to-back weeks of 70 yards. He's had 2 touchdowns in one of those weeks, the week prior.
Yep.
Both teams are tanking, so this is where I say buyer beware, because the reality is you never
Yeah,
know what's going to happen in a game where both teams are vying for the same draft spot.
yeah.
So buyer beware there, but I do think there's a potential where he could have um, s- points that exceed his salary, if that makes sense. Um, and then the last guy I've got is Ashton Genty at 6,100. I've been talking about Genty over the last couple weeks. I felt like the breakout was coming. I was a couple weeks early, but last week he finally broke out of his shell. He had
Yep.
24 rushing attempts for 128 yards, 1 touchdown. He also had 1 reception for 60 yards and a touchdown. Against, this is the biggest thing for me, is against Houston's defense, who's been
Oh yeah.
stout all season long. It
Yep.
was kind of crazy that that was the game he decided to explode. Where I've been picking him for 3 straight weeks, saying, "Hey, this is
Yeah.
it. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen," and then it goes when I don't pick him against Houston's defense, of course, because
Yeah.
we are the kiss of death here at the Print. If you haven't figured that out, um, but a couple quick stats on the Giants' defense is they allow the second most rushing yards per game at 150.9. And
Oh, I
they've
saw that.
also allowed the fifth most rushing touchdowns this season with 19. So you really like the matchup again with Ashton Genty. Again, same thing I said about Tyrone Tracy here. You got to be buyer beware though, because the reality is this is their number one draft pick with Ashton Genty. You've already seen him send Max Crosby home.
Yep.
So are they going to give him 90% of the snaps? Your guess is as good as mine, but we'll see what happens.
You're gonna have to do a Twitter search. You gotta you gotta dive deep, man. From Sunday before kickoff, you gotta type in
Yeah.
the Twitter search bar Ashton Genty and read whatever you can find.
$100.
If you don't see anything, then you're maybe safe. Maybe, I'm not saying you are.
Maybe.
I mean, you might be. You might be safe.
Might be safe. But
Maybe.
those are the three guys I've kind of circled as potential values. You got your James Cooks, you got your Achane, but even Achane makes me a little bit nervous now that they're in full tank mode. Like you said, you showed us
Yeah.
your drawing earlier. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. But your higher tier guys like your Saquon Barkley, like you
Yeah.
really like his matchup this week. So you can, this is a slot where you can just go, hey, I'm banking on the chalk running backs here. I'm not going to do a value pick. So I kind of went deep on values, but Gabe, what do you have this week at your running back position?
Well, I 1000% have Ashton Genty. He's at one of the cheapest prices he's been at all season. He started the season about 7,000, and he's only gone down since. He actually broke below the 6,000 mark in his last 2 weeks, and he's
Yeah,
actually reduced. He's at 6,100, and and like you said, he's averaging actually in his last 6 games 6 targets a game. Something I don't remember him doing at Boise State. So I don't know if
yeah,
he just
I don't
had it in his
either.
arsenal, and they and they I don't think he had to at Boise
Yeah,
State.
that's true.
So he's shown a lot of upside in the receiving department. So that's what 6 catches a game is. It's a dump off deluxe. It's a touchdown
Dump
if he can catch.
off deluxe. Hey, hold on real quick before you keep going. Trademark fantasy blueprint. Okay, go ahead.
Trademark blueprint, double off deluxe. A lot of injuries, like you said, to monitor. Maybe not a lot, but a few. You mentioned Ramondre and Travion. I like that a lot. But Byshell Tootin for the Jacksonville Jaguars
Out.
is questionable. He's not out yet. Is he out yet? He's questionable.
He was the last thing I read was he's questionable, but it's leaning towards an out.
Really? Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I think that Trevor, not No,
Don't say.
Travis, not Trevor.
Yeah, we've
Travis.
made that mistake. I've made that mistake once this year already.
Travis Travis Etienne versus the Indianapolis Colts at 7,100 is one of those
Yeah.
chalkier running backs that you could get a really, really solid floor due to the volume because he's been an absolute pass catching machine in his last two
Mm,
games. He's got four
that's
receiving
a great
touchdowns in the
point.
last two games. So you got to take a look at Travis Etienne. But my value running back, obviously Ashton Genty is one of them, but another injury to monitor is the Cleveland Browns backfield with Judkins going to the
Mm,
IR, Jerome Ford on the IR. Dylan Sampson out of the University of Tennessee at 5,100 was one of the best running backs in the SEC either last year or the year before. He is looking
yeah.
like to lead that backfield, but he is questionable with a hand injury. And if he doesn't play, that leaves
Right.
Raheem Sanders, Rocket, at 4,800 out of the University of Arkansas starting in that backfield. So you have potentially two options at 5,000 salary or less that
Yeah.
you could get some really, really high volume. Now, Pittsburgh, I will say, they're at 92% chance to make the playoffs right now. They are going to come out motivated against a
Yeah.
depleted and sad Cleveland team. So
Yeah.
your upside is limited, I'd say at best, with those two plays. I think Samson gives a little more in the pass catching game. We've
Yeah.
seen him. We've seen him get us some value there. Raheem Sanders, I think he has to score a touchdown. Even at those salary points, they need 15 plus fantasy points. I'm really not sure if they get it if they don't catch a few passes. I don't know if they'll get in the end zone. Pittsburgh defense has really turned it around, and I think
Yeah.
T.J. Watt will be back this week from his lung injury. They said he should be back. They got Cam Hayward and Jalen Ramsey. Their defense has talent. It's never
Mm,
lacks talent. I don't know why they struggled so much at the beginning of the season because they have good players,
yeah.
but we thought that we didn't pick Ashton Genty versus Houston last week, and look what happened to us. It looked
Exactly.
like
Yeah. No doubt.
so. Don't be scared. Don't be as scared of the matchup if you really like the price. And I think those two guys. Let me give you so a lot of people may not be familiar with either of those running backs in Dylan Sampson or Raheem Sanders. So I pulled some stats on Raheem Sanders because I like him more than Sampson if Sampson's out. If Sampson plays, I think he's a decent play, but I really like Raheem Sanders. So he's last week he had 11 carries for 42 yards when Judkins went out. I don't know. I think Sampson may have hurt his hand, and that's why Sanders played. But when Raheem Sanders was at Arkansas, he was all SEC freshman, first team, SEC all freshman. And in his second year in 2022, he was SEC first team, all SEC. He averaged 110 rushing yards a game, and he's one of 20 players in FBS history to average over 110 rushing yards per game at 6.5 yards per carry.
Wow.
So Rocket Sanders was a great player at Arkansas, and I think he could be a sneaky play this week if Sampson's ruled out and
Yep.
down in Pittsburgh and at Cleveland against Pittsburgh. So those are my running backs, and we've spoke on them before. You're not getting tons of value at the running back position right now. So
Yeah.
take with that what you will. But what do you want to move to now? You want to move to tight ends or receivers?
Yeah, let's go tight ends. We'll save receivers for last. I know those are your favorite things to
Oh,
talk
I got
about. So
I got a list for you, page
I love
long.
it. Well, let me start us at tight ends then, because you can do your running list at wide receiver first. And then if
Yeah.
I have anything that you didn't talk about, I'll add to it. But tight end value plays this week. Uh, Sadly, Brock Bowers heading to the IR.
Yep.
However, for daily fantasy, it is extreme value for Michael Mayer at 2,500 because he is the cheapest. I think is that the lowest you can get out of
Yes.
a yeah. So he's at the lowest possible salary you can get.
That's my 100% right there.
One
100. Mike Mayer, 100%.
100%. 2,500. Too good to pass up. Starting against the Giants. However, I will say this: Giants defense is better against tight ends than you would think. So it's a little bit tougher matchup. There's six right now to tight end positions in fantasy football. But the biggest thing is no Brock Bowers is his position, Mayer's position, and we've seen Mayer this year play without Brock Bowers, and he had one really good game where he had 7 targets, 5 receptions, 50 yards, and a touchdown. He ended up with 16 fantasy points that game. If he even sniffs 16 point 16
Oh yeah,
fantasy points this week. I mean, at 2,500, you just cashed in.
you need nine. You need
So
10. You need 10 points from him. That's or 9 or 10 points. All you need.
yeah, so
Yeah,
we don't even need that. But if he gets the targets, if he even gets 5 targets, you're probably sitting pretty.
yeah,
But he's so cheap, it's really hard not to pass up. He's one of my favorite plays this week. This is a more expensive guy, but I still think the value is here. I didn't talk about him last week, but I can't help but talk about this guy this week. It's Harold Fannin Jr. Against Pittsburgh. He's listed at 5,000 salary. Pittsburgh, although their defense has turned a corner, is 30th to the tight end position, allowing 17.4 fantasy points per game. The targets for Fannin are insane
oh
the
yeah,
last 3 weeks,
it's
dude.
wild.
He's had
Yeah,
11, 14, and 6. So he's had 31
yeah,
targets in the last 3 games. He's had 19 catches. But one of the things that stood out to me is you lose Judkins last week. They need a tush push for a touchdown. Who do they put in? Fannin Jr. So I think that even increases the value there because if they don't have a running back they trust, Fannin Jr. takes that under center snap for a touchdown. I like it a lot. And another thing you like about Fannin Jr. this week is I checked this morning. Njoku was a non-participant on Thursday,
he's
so
out. He's out.
yeah, so he's out. So you gotta like Fannin, gotta like the targets,
Yeah,
gotta like the ways they're using him. So he's my second value play this week at tight end. And then third, I don't know. I really wanted Cole to be on here because this is for him.
I know.
I'm not a huge Taysom Hill fan. He's done incredible things for the city of New Orleans, but if this is his last ride and they're not
Yeah,
gonna
that's
feature
true.
estimate, they're just gonna hand the ball off to him 12 times. You gotta like Taysom Hill at 2,700. I mean, you saw last week they obviously don't trust estimate.
Yeah.
Hill got 12 carries, he got 6 targets, he had 4 receptions, and he also threw a 38-yard bomb. Is that going to happen this game? Absolutely not. But will he get some of
Don't
that?
say that, man. Don't say that. Don't say that. It
But
goes on
even
the
if he
internet.
doesn't get all of that,
Yeah,
even if he doesn't get all that, there's still some value there. So Taysom Hill against Tennessee, who is middle of the pack to the tight ends, um, they allow 52.4 receiving yards to the tight end position per game and about 5 receptions per game. So I don't really care that much about the tight end stats if they're going to give the ball to him 12 times or 10 times. And he gets a few catches in between. I think as many touches as I mean, if you think about it, he had 17 touches last week. He had 12
yeah,
carries, he had 4 receptions, he had a pass. So a lot of touches for a guy priced at 2,700. Give me Taysom Hill this week as one of my favorite plays against Tennessee. But
yeah,
that kind of wraps up my tight ends for this week. Gabe, what you got?
yeah. Michael Mayer, my favorite tight end play. Foreshadowing there, maybe to some core four action. But even with Brock Bowers, he had 5 games with 4+ targets this year as the
Yep.
backup tight end. So he's proven he can be involved in the game as a backup. Why not get him while he's at the minimum salary price? I can't believe he's at the minimum salary price of 2,500. That was a mistake by DraftKings for sure. If they didn't know Brock Bowers was going to be out, that he should not be at that price. I don't care. Not with
One of
the
the
not with.
DraftKings employees, he was like, "All right, I got to go to Christmas break. I'm out.
I don't.
2,500."
Yeah, he mailed it in. He did the old punt on that this week. Like you said, I like Michael Mayer. I wasn't really on Taysom Hill. I thought you were going to say Jawan Johnson because at 4,200 last week, he had 8 catches on 9 targets for 89 yards, and Olave's
Yeah.
questionable with a back injury. If Olave's out, he instantly jumps up
Oh
to
yeah.
wide receiver one at
100%.
4,200, which I think is a fantastic value for
He's
him.
probably if Olave's out, he's got to be one of the best plays of the weekend. Jawan
Yeah,
Johnson.
yeah. If Olave doesn't play, I'd be surprised honestly with a back injury if Olave plays after the week he had last week.
Yeah.
He had 2 weeks worth of production last week. He could honestly afford to sit out this week if he
Yeah.
feels like he did enough last week. And He had 39 points last week, dude. 16 targets. It was a fantastic game from Olave, which we
Good
said,
call. Yep.
the print had it. The print said start Olave. If you didn't start him, you weren't tuned in. You weren't locked. You weren't locked in.
You were locked.
You weren't locked. Uh, this is a sneaky one here that I looked at. I was checking the stats for Jawan Johnson. He is 267 yards away from getting 1,000 yards this year.
Wow.
So he's got 2 games to do it. If no Olave, I do think that's a milestone that he'll try to get. He'll try to break that 1,000 yard mark, especially if he's trying to get paid.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that they'll throw him the ball and try to get him that 1,000 yards? I don't know, but somebody has to catch the ball in New Orleans. I don't know if another team for Tankathon there, but
Yeah.
uh, it's the newest New Orleans versus Titans game. Like it's in Nashville. I think the tickets were like $10. I mean, you want to watch some bad football? You should be in Nashville this weekend.
Mm,
It's gonna be bad. I think
rough.
rough, but like I said, personal in those games. It's more of a personal achievement. Who wants to get paid? Who's got something to prove? Who wants what? You got to try and read between the lines there. And I think Jawan Johnson, he wants that 1K. He wants that
Yeah.
1K milestone on his Pro Football Reference page.
No
On
doubt.
he wants that.
He wants to be an elite at
He
1,000.
wants that. He wants that 1K.
No doubt. That
That's my
wrap you
tight
up
end.
at tight end.
Yeah, you hit me with Michael Mayer. I was totally who I was thinking. Oh, I'm going to talk about Pittsburgh wide receivers, but Pat Fryermuth 2,900 with no DK Metcalf, no Calvin Austin. They are absolutely like
Shook.
dying for a pass catcher this weekend versus
Yeah.
Cleveland. They have 3 tight ends who've shown to have been productive in the past. If you're going to pick one, Fryermuth's got the highest snap share, but Jonnu Smith to me seems like the best weapon they have at tight end in terms
Yeah.
of verticality, getting vertical speed, whatever it is. And Darnell Washington seems like an absolute mismatch in the red zone. But all 3 of those tight ends bring something different to the table in terms of their skill
Yeah.
set, and it's really a dart throw at best. So I'm not dead set in love with any tight end in Pittsburgh. I'm focusing more on the wide receivers there, which I'll talk about
Yeah.
coming up.
Sweet. All right. Well, let's jump to receivers. I'm going to roll the red carpet out for you, brother. This is where you make the money right here at the receiver position. You've done an excellent job all season. I'm excited to see what you got for week 17. So let us have it right here.
Yeah. So like I said, the tight ends, there's such good value at tight end this week with Mayer, Johnson, you got Fannin. It's kind of hard for me to dive deep on a Pittsburgh tight end. So what I've been looking at is in the Pittsburgh wide receiver the Pittsburgh wide receiver room. DK Metcalf, shout out to you, avoiding that $48 million in your contract because of your pride. You should probably put that to the side, but that's all right. Not my 48 million. It's not my 48 million. Calvin Austin out this week with a hamstring injury. I'd be surprised if he plays next week as well. Hamstrings are worse than pride, and DK Metcalf's out 2 games. So you got 4 wide receivers in Pittsburgh, and all of them give me the Michael Myers standing in the hallway in the dark treatment. They all scare me to death. I don't know which one to choose, but you've got Adam Thielen, who they traded for. Or did they trade for him, or did they just sign him? Didn't they? Didn't
They
know. Maybe
signed
Minnesota
him.
signed him.
Yeah, they
Uh,
signed
last
him.
last week, 43% of the snaps, and then 58 the week before. He did 3,400. He actually did have 4 catches on 4 targets for 49 yards. Clearly, it seems like he's the guy that's going to be the favorite to get involved this week. Roman Wilson was inactive, healthy inactive. They didn't even, it surprised me, to be honest,
Yeah,
because
that surprised me.
they had a couple of touchdowns this year, and I was surprised they ruled him inactive. But you have Aaron Rodgers' guy, man, Marquez Valdez Scantling, sitting there at 3,000, who played 52% and then 42% of the snaps last week. I honestly think Marquez Valdez Scantling might be the play with the chemistry that him and Aaron
I
Rodgers have.
I think that might be my favorite play of the Pittsburgh receiver room.
He
I mean,
only
I'm
had
not
one.
saying I love it. I'm just
Yeah,
saying if I had to pick one, I think I'd land there.
he's got some deep bomb highlights with Aaron Rodgers for sure. He only had one catch on 3 targets for 6 yards, but if you look the week before that, he did have a touchdown. I think it's like a 30-yard
Yeah.
touchdown. Scotty Miller, 3,000. He had three
Scotty.
catches on 3 targets for 19 yards last week. I didn't check his snap share, but I don't, it was one of the lower ones. And then Ben Skoranek, 3,000. He didn't play at all. He didn't have
Yeah.
any catches, so I don't like
I'm out.
him. But you got three guys, Scantling, Thielen, and Miller, that somebody's gonna have to catch the ball. And I think the highest upside, I want to say it's Scantling, just because he's a little bit fresher than Thielen. I think your floor is a little bit safer with Thielen. They catch
I
some of
agree.
the check downs, and then Scotty Miller. If you really want to, man, if you want to feel a tingle in your plums, you start Scotty Miller if that's what you want to do. But that you want to get it checked out next week if he doesn't do anything
Yeah.
well.
0
uh,
targets, 0 yards. Go get it checked out.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if the Pittsburgh defense just absolutely eviscerates
Yeah.
Shadur Sanders this week. And it'll probably be a cold game, I'd imagine, in Cleveland. So I think you've got to target a guy who's going to get in the end zone in that wide receiver room at
Yeah.
3,000. It's 9 points. If Thielen has a game of 4 catches for 49 yards, he's not breaking 9 points. So you're gonna have to find somebody who scores touchdown. I think that's Scantling, to be honest.
Hey, let me
But
ask you a question.
yeah,
All right, so you're looking at the receivers for Pittsburgh. Both of the running backs for Pittsburgh have the ability to catch the ball. Does it increase your desire to draft a Kenny Gainwell or a Jalen Warren, or do you think the ceiling's the ceiling for those guys regardless of who's playing receiver?
so Gainwell did have a good game last week, I believe, catching the ball. He caught a touchdown. He had one of those highlight reel diving on the ground. One of the craziest catches I've ever seen, to be honest. While he was like falling on the ground and it just like hit him in the face mask and somehow managed to catch it. He's got 16, 19, and 23 fantasy points in his last 3 games. Kenneth Gainwell does. And he's averaging 7 targets a game. So Gainwell is extremely involved in the passing game, but it's something about the Cleveland defense that they haven't been good against the run in the last 2 weeks, which kind of leads me to Jalen Warren as far as he's coming back from that illness that he had. So maybe he's going to get more involved this week. Warren had 143 yards last week versus Detroit, by the way. So
Wow.
and 2 touchdowns. So I would be surprised if they go away from Warren this week, favoring Gainwell. But both those running backs have been extremely involved. So it's not a bad play, but
Yeah.
at the price, I'm just a little weary of one guy being favored over the other if he gets hot in
Yeah.
that game. I hate split backfields. I hate them. I can't stand them. The
Yep.
Tampa Bay backfield is my least favorite backfield in the entire
Vomit.
NFL. Stand it. I
Yeah.
can't hate it.
Hey, let me let this dog in the room real quick. Keep
Uh,
rolling. I'm listening.
Going, yeah, I'm gonna hit up the New England Patriots receiver room here because you have no Keyshawn Boutte and you have no Mac Hollins this week. I think Stephon Diggs at 5,800 may get 15 targets against who do they play? The New York Jets, and potentially a touchdown. But he's not my favorite play in that wide receiver room in terms of value, even though Stephon Diggs will probably, like I said, get 15 targets as the only healthy receiver that's played above 50% of the snaps in the last like 6 weeks. Kyle Williams at 3,300. Third round draft pick out of Washington State. Had a touchdown last week. He had 2 catches for 46 yards. 4'4", 40 guy. Like I said, they spent a pretty high draft pick to get him, and like I said, you have no Demario Douglas also not out. He's usurped Demario Douglas anyway in snap count. So Kyle Williams is going to be the wide receiver 2 this week, and he's shown a decent chemistry with Drake May when he gets a chance to play. And this is one of those guys. We have a small sample size. We got to go back to what he did in college, and you're like, well, who the frick is Kyle Williams? This is my dad talking. Who the frick is Kyle Williams? Like, where did he come from? Well, he came from Washington State. He actually was the Mountain West Freshman of the Year, and he also is the all-time leader in career touchdowns and 100-yard games at Washington State, and was on the Blitnikoff Award watch list. So Kyle
Wow.
Williams is a really was a really good college receiver. And I know that because I played a little college football Draftkings myself last year when he was still there, and he was one of the highest priced receivers for good reason. Obviously, he was a stud in Washington
Wow.
State. Yeah,
Good
so
info.
he's my favorite wide receiver play for New England this weekend over Stephon Diggs, just because he's at 3,300, extremely cheap, near the bare minimum in a game that New England should score 40 against the Jets. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great pick. And also, I've got Trey Tucker at 3,800. No Brock
Yeah.
Bowers, no Jacoby Myers. Brock Bowers out. Jacoby Myers traded. He played a 100% snap share last week. He was on the field for
I
every
like
single snap.
that.
Played 93% of the snaps. Now, he hasn't blown up in the last 6 weeks. However, in week 3, he made someone a millionaire with Geno Smith when they combined for 70 fantasy points
So
in week
true.
3. He had
So true.
43 fantasy points. Their other backup receiver, bunny Jack Beck, he is questionable with a back injury at 3,700. If he doesn't play, Trey Tucker instantly goes up a ton.
Yeah.
But even if he doesn't,
Jeez.
I still think Trey Tucker is a great play at 3,800 with Geno Smith back in the lineup. And this is a term that I wanted to bring up because there's a couple of these guys in the NFL that I think is a crazy, it's an awesome dynamic to target. So you've got Kavontae Turpin, Shamir DK, and you also have, I think, Trey Tucker. I think Trey Tucker is the return man for the Raiders.
Rashid
And
Shaheed too.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Rashid Shaheed. Yes, that's another guy. There's 4 guys, and there's probably more we can think of, but that's the 4 that I'm thinking of right now. You have an opportunity in some of those games to get double fantasy points if you start the returner for that team at wide receiver and then
Mm.
start their defense. That's a 12 pointer. That's a
Yeah.
rushing touchdown or a kick or special teams kickoff, whatever, or a special teams touchdown for the receiver and for the defense.
Good point.
That's 12 points. That's something you can't. That's a specialty. We got to think of a word for those receivers, but that's a special breed. And I think Chimere DK for the Titans, he might be my favorite guy because I think he's done that already this year.
Yeah.
I
Twice, I
think
think.
he had 12 points and he had a punt return. He had a receiving touchdown and a punt return. If you just started that defense, you'd have had 18 points from DK and
Man.
that Titans defense. So that's something we have to watch. And then Trey Tucker, I think he is the return man. If he is, maybe against the Giants, if they're not willing to play Las Vegas, maybe he returns a kick. But that's a huge risk. I mean, you're starting a guy hoping he returns a kick and scores a touchdown. That's rare. It doesn't happen much,
Yeah.
but it's not impossible. There's a
Not
chance.
impossible.
Not impossible. And my last receiver, I'm sorry for going so long.
No,
Pause.
you're good.
The Chicago Bears wide receiver room with Roma Dunze out. You've got Luther Burden at 4,800 and DJ Moore at 5,500 against San Francisco, who just let up 42 fantasy points to the Indianapolis Colts receiver room last week with Phillip Rivers at the helm. Alec
Billy
Pierce had a good
too.
game, 2 touchdowns. Josh Downs and Michael Pittman had good games as far as contributing to the offense, but not breakout games. Pierce really carried the weight there with over 20 fantasy points. But I like I like Caleb Williams a lot more than I like Phillip Rivers against San Francisco. To be honest with you, it's
Yeah.
Caleb Williams with that touchdown last week. I think there may be some momentum building there to make the playoffs and actually be kind of a sneaky team with the way their defense is playing. But DJ Moore has 22 points or more in back-to-back weeks. Seems like he's finally developed a
Finally
touchdown
got it.
with Caleb Williams, with Roma Dunze out. But gosh,
Yeah.
if he doesn't scare me to death the way he played at the beginning of the season, I am petrified to start him.
I'm shaking in my boots, man.
I'm so scared. But he has 7 touchdowns this year. So that caught me off guard when I looked at it. I was like, oh, dang, he's actually scored a decent amount of touchdowns. So why am I scared of him? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be so scared of him this week. And then you have Luther Burden at 4,800, who has had 2 decent weeks back to back. He had, I think he had 60 something yards last week. Maybe it was 5 or 6 catches for 69 yards. He had like 14 fantasy points. If that's 14 fantasy points, that's what he's priced at, 4,800. So he didn't outscore it, but DJ Moore has outscored his projection in back to back weeks. I'm honestly, I think I'm leaning DJ Moore at 5,500. As scary as it is to say,
Yeah,
they're still fighting for a playoff spot, like I said, and I'm petrified of it. But his price for some reason hasn't gone up after 2 really good weeks with Roma Dunze out. I'm surprised, which should be a sign there to not touch him that his
yeah.
price is the same. But I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna play him at some. I'm gonna play him.
I'm terrified, but I think I'm gonna do it.
Terrified, but I'm gonna play him.
Oh man, I love it. Um, well, I've got three guys, but I've got two. I did not. I missed the Matt Collins memo this morning when I was doing my research. Um,
Hey
he's one of
man,
my favorite.
yeah,
He's one of my favorite players, Barefoot Mac. Big fan. Um, so I
Mac.
won't talk too much about him, but I just got two other guys I want to talk about. Josh Downs, 4,200 versus Jacksonville. Really liking the targets that he's getting from Phillip Rivers. He's had 14 total last 2 weeks, so 7 a game with Rivers at the helm. He's at 8 receptions and a touchdown, double-digit fantasy points in back-to-back weeks. Um, I think if the targets are still there and receptions keep trending in the right direction, you throw a touchdown in there at a price at 4,200. It's a really good value opportunity, especially against Jacksonville, who's they allow the eighth most passing yards per game at 244.1. They've also allowed 24 passing touchdowns. And Rivers doesn't scare me as much as I thought he would originally. He's done some good things despite being 44.
Yeah.
It's amazing to kind of watch him be able to read and pick apart a defense as he floats balls into windows. But he continues to do it. It's kind of impressive. But
What he lacks
um,
in velocity, he makes up in accuracy for
yeah,
sure.
100%. Yeah, the IQ too is through the roof. So I like Josh Downs a lot this week, and then I really like Juwan Jennings. I feel like a lot of people have not been talking about him over the last couple weeks, but he's priced at 5,600 versus Chicago, who's actually 23rd to the receiver position in fantasy, allowing 35.2 fantasy points per game. The last 4 weeks for Jawan Johnson, he's had 15, 13, 18, and 18. So he's pretty consistent. He's kind of a low floor guy, or high floor guy. Sorry, high floor guy. That one always confuses me. Can't figure it out.
Yeah, figured it.
Um, but he hasn't dropped below 5 targets in weeks. Like I was looking through his target opportunities over the last week. I was like, all right, when does he drop below 5? Can't find. I mean, it was early in the season. Um, and Ricky P still questionable. I don't know if he got cleared this afternoon or not, but I know he was questionable. Um, but
I'll look
Brock
for
Purdy's playing a lot better, and I think that when your quarterback's playing well, it elevates your receivers, obviously. And then they play a defense that has allowed the fifth most passing touchdowns at 28 per game, or not 28 per game. Sorry, 28 this season. 28 per game.
yeah.
Chicago would be 0 and 14, but 28 this season. So that's one of my favorite plays, as well as Jawan Johnson at the wide receiver position for San Francisco. Um, but let's jump to core four if you're ready to roll.
I'm ready. Yeah.
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, my core four, I'm rolling out Jacoby Brissett, 5,700, Michael Mayer, 2,500, Kyle Williams, 3,300. I want to ask you, is Genty in your core four?
Uh, Genty will be in my core four if Henderson gets ruled out.
Okay. If he's in your core four, I'm gonna go with either Dylan Sampson or Raheem Sanders, whichever one of those guys gets
Dude,
healthy. I'll
I don't
there. I'll go.
have Rocket Sanders in my core four, but my plums are starting to tingle for
He's
Rocket
my
Sanders.
he's my plum
Pause.
pick. He's my plum pick if Sampson is out.
Yeah, I like it, dude. I like it a lot. So my core four, I've got Josh Downs. I've got Taysom Hill instead of Michael Mayer. Got to change it up on you a little bit. Got to gain some points. I've got Malik Willis with the news that he will be the starter, and I've got Ramondre Stevenson for the moment if Henderson's ruled out. If he's
Yeah,
not ruled out, I'm gonna go Genty. But I just the Stevenson play is just one of my favorites if Henderson's out. So I'm gonna stick with him right now
If
until
you
news
don't
comes
go
in.
Ginty, I'm going Ginty. If
Okay,
you don't, so it's
perfect.
gonna be we're we're playing off each other. If you don't go Ginty, I'm going Ginty. I want
Perfect.
him. You'll have him. If you have him, I'm not gonna snipe you.
No,
That's how I feel.
you take Genty, I'll take Stevenson, but if Henderson's ruled out, we'll circle back through the text
I
thread
think
and
Henderson.
clean it
I
up.
think I think Henderson will play. He was full participant this week. He just got to get cleared from the neurologist. Oh, actually, no. I mean, now that I think about it, against the Jets, they might opt out of caution not to play him. Now that I think about
Yeah,
it, it'd be
they may
that's a
see
good
if they
point.
can go without him, which is
Yeah,
really, really going to screw my season long fantasy. They
yeah.
better not pull some bull crap like that where they say he's active and he plays like 2 snaps, because then I'm
I can see
toast.
that happening 1,000%. I can see that
I know,
happening.
dude. It doesn't, I don't think it's gonna matter, but because I already lost. Jameer Gibbs screwed me. Plum picks. I'm gonna
Cleveland running back for me. That's me. I'm going Cleveland running
Cleveland
back,
running
either
back.
Sampson or Sanders, one of them. Yeah,
Man, I think I'm gonna go Malik Willis this week
that's a
at
good one.
5,000. I think that he does enough to make him a value play, and the Green Bay Packers beat the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. So
Yep,
that is kind of my that is my plum pick for this week. Let's go
yep.
optimal lineups. AI optimal, um, one of the highest projected fantasy points I've seen in a line, but 145.9. It's got Joe Burrow,
Wow.
CMC,
Yep.
Bucky Irving. Computer doesn't
Wow.
understand that Bucky Irving getting goal line carries snatched. Uh,
Yeah.
they're on your Trey Tucker pick. AI optimal lineup likes Trey Tucker. Jamar Chase, Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer, which we
Yep.
talked about, Ashton Genty,
Yep.
and the Cleveland Browns. So in this lineup, you have two Las Vegas Raiders guys, and their
Yeah.
offense is cheeks. But
They're on
I could
something though.
see, but if you're gonna go that route, it makes me actually they've got three Trey Tucker.
You've
If you go
got to
that
put.
route,
Yeah, you got
you
to
might
put
as well
Geno.
just onslaught and go Geno Smith,
Got
and
to.
then
Yeah.
and then just see what happens. So,
You got to
but it,
upgrade. You got to upgrade one of those running backs. It was CMC, and you got to upgrade Bucky. You got to.
yeah,
You
you
got
got
to
to
upgrade.
upgrade Bucky. Yeah,
Got to.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I may take that lineup for my $1 million moneymaker,
I
and
think so too, man. I like that. I might put a little on that one. I like that one.
yeah, I kind of like it this week.
Yeah.
So my optimal lineup for this week, I've got Brock Purdy making a
What's his
shift.
name?
Brock Purdy. I've got Ashton Genty, Ramondre Stevenson potentially, Josh
Yeah.
Downs, Jamar Chase, Jawan Jennings, Taysom Hill, CMC, Panthers defense for a projected output of 137.4
Yeah.
points.
All
What you
right.
got?
I've got two, one for Saturday and Sunday, and one for Sunday only. I didn't tell you to do that, Britton, so don't feel bad. I just did it
No, you're
because
good.
I love the game and I want to give the people what they
I
want.
love the game, baby. No, you're good.
They're very similar, so don't. It's not like it's groundbreaking. They're pretty much the same, minus a couple changes. I've got Jacoby Brissett 5,700 with CMC, Dylan Sampson 5,100 if he plays, DJ Moore 5,500, Trey Tucker 3,800, Kyle Williams 3,300, Trey McBride stack 7,500
Mm.
with Saquon Barkley 7,600, and then the Ravens defense playing on Saturday night versus the Green Bay Packers and Malik Willis.
I
Since
was
Baltimore, do what?
You were going through your lineup, and I was like, "Dang, that's some cheap players." And then you rolled out
Saquon and
your
then Trey
tight
McBride
end, Trey
coming in
McBride,
hot.
and Saquon. I was like, "Oh, there's the money. Got it."
The chalk's in there. The chalk's in there.
Yeah.
Uh, then my Sunday only, I go with the same Jacoby, Christian McCaffrey, Dylan Sampson, DJ Moore, Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Carolina. They're trying to fight
Mm.
for that one seed still,
Yep.
8,600. Kyle Williams, 3,300. Double tight end, Trey McBride, Michael Mayer in the flex. And
Ooh.
then Buffalo Bills against Philly in a game that I think will be freezing cold. I
Yeah,
could see that game being like 10-7.
14. Yeah,
Yeah,
14-10 Buffalo.
yeah. I like Buffalo there, maybe to get a couple turnovers with Jalen and maybe return a kick or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's kind of just because I had 3,000. I was like, what's Buffalo, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, let me say this for people setting lineups. My opinion on defense: uh, pick your team, and then whatever salary you have, you just pick the best defense you can get. Don't even
Yeah.
look at the matchup. Don't even like the Titans defense has scored more touchdowns than the Broncos this year. I'll leave it at that.
I like
That's all
that.
defense.
That's a good stat pool right there, baby.
You cannot predict defense. I don't care what you say. You can have the best matchup on paper. Ashton Genty's going to drop 200 a burger on your best defense in the NFL. Like, you
I know.
can't.
All those people that spin up on Houston last week are just sick.
Why did I do that? Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
man. Well, good deal, brother. I think that about wraps us up. I need to apologize for just the setup this week, man. I'm on my iPhone in a
Terrible.
dark room with a dog behind me, and it just, when you're in the woods and you ain't got cell service or Wi-Fi is not great, you just got to do what you can. The
I'm up
computer
in.
was pulling too much data. It said it ain't gonna work, so I had to jump on the phone. But hopefully everything runs pretty clear.
Yeah.
But I just have a blast doing this crap, man. It's so much fun. So,
Shout
any
out to
last
shout out to Jeff Powell letting me use the father-in-law's office up here with the sick office chair
always
and to get on the print while we're traveling for Christmas. But we're doing it for the people, man. The grind don't stop.
for
We
the
do it for
people? It
y'all.
doesn't stop, baby.
We
Doesn't
want to know if
stop.
you we want to know if you win because we can't all win. So we want to know if
Yeah,
y'all win. Please tell
100%.
us if y'all win. Please
Yeah,
tell us.
dude. I mean, if anybody out there listens and is winning
Yeah,
lineup, shoot them to us, man. We want to celebrate with you guys because it
yeah,
is so much fun to see that bag roll up
yeah.
in the
We'll,
green on
we'll
a
post you.
Sunday.
We'll post you on the top with a
Yeah,
screenshot of your lineup, whatever it is that you want to shout out for. If our picks gave you some winning entries, we need to know. We need to know.
yeah. I need it. I
Yeah,
need the booster.
I need.
Um, But that wraps us up. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you guys have a happy New Year. We will catch you in Week 18, the final regular season game. But don't worry, subscribe because we'll be back for the playoffs, baby. So we will
Absolutely.
see you
Yeah.
guys in Week 18. We're out.